This is the Orioles POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Baltimore Orioles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Birdland, we are starving for a win. Starving. I'm reminded of the line from the 2003 movie Holes. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. For the second consecutive day, the Baltimore Orioles bury themselves before they can even get to the plate, and they lose 10-4 to the Washington Nationals. The Tony Mansolino era is here, game 45, and the O's fall to the Nats 10-4 on Sunday. They are swept in the series, and they are swept in the homestand. 6 consecutive losses for Baltimore, 15 games under 500, and the playoff odds sitting at 3%. Hello, and welcome on this Sunday afternoon to the Baltimore Orioles POSTCAST. My name is Luke Slabaugh. I am the post-game show host after every Baltimore Orioles game here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you for watching here live on YouTube. We stream these every day, and then on the replay as well. If you're catching this in your feed, on your regular podcast feed, wherever you get your free podcasts, go ahead, leave a comment, a rating, a review, subscribe, thumbs up. Let us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong, and what the Baltimore Orioles are doing wrong. Plenty of blame to go around these days. Braden Hyde, the manager, was the sacrificial lamb yesterday. An interim manager, Tony Mansolino, has to pick up the pieces and rejuvenate this club as it now falls to 0-2 under his leadership and tutelage. As a reminder, Connor Newcomb is still here 5 days a week with the regular Locked On Orioles show that you have come to know and love. I am bonus content. This is complimentary. It is an extra bonus episode for you during the week to plug in the gaps between Connor's show in the morning and mine in the evening. So thank you one and all for sticking with us through 45 games so far.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Right-hander Zach Eflin was due for his first real clunker in an Orioles uniform, and it probably came at the worst time. Since he was acquired, we've seen him walk the tightrope of a number 2 starter, be so good in the strike zone with great command, and reach that ceiling in his prime years. That is Zach Eflin's ceiling. A low 2, probably a 3, but can flirt with the top of the rotation type. This, unfortunately, today was the floor. It was his first time allowing more than 3 runs in an Orioles uniform. He had gone a career-high 14 straight starts. Get this, tied for the active longest streak in baseball of giving up 3 runs or fewer in a start. Michael King of San Diego, also currently with that streak. And it started in the most inauspicious way. First pitch to C.J. Abrams. Cutter misses, ends up inside, was supposed to be dot in the black on the outside corner, and Abrams hits it to the flag court. Part of a great day for the Nationals' young shortstop. So first pitch at 136, first run at 136, and first boo birds at Camden Yards at 136. But the wheels fall off as part of a 6-run second inning, top of the second for the Nats. 3 home runs in that frame, including back-to-back jacks. The first one to Luis Garcia, leading off the inning, a 1-0 changeup that missed, hit it over the right field fence to make it 2-0. And then Dylan Cruz with 2 runners on, feasts on a fastball belt high, 5-zip Nationals. And for Abrams' second home run, solo shot to left field, you got to hand it to him. That was just a really good piece of hitting for him. Curveball outside and just extended on it. That wasn't even within the realm of, a strike. Sometimes someone with that good bat to ball skills is just going to beat you. And to his credit, left fielder Ramon Laureano probably could have been able to haul that back in. He doesn't time his jump to the fence right. You don't expect a robbery of a home run ever. In fact, over the last few years, we've probably been accustomed and taken for granted some of what Cedric Mullins does out there in center. Ramon is a great fielder and has really good routes to the ball, great energy, but mistimed it. 3-2-1 fence, didn't quite get it done. And then James Wood hits a single to left. Laureano at this point is playing too deep, and the ball drops for a single. Wood steals second, his seventh of the year, then scores on a K-Bear Ruiz single. The second straight day that the O's have a 7-0 deficit early on in the game. As you'll recall, Kyle Gibson gave up 6 to put the O's in a hole, and then Charlie Morton gave up 1 as well. For Eflin, a career worst tying 4 home runs allowed in this start. And this is not the way. That second inning might still be going on if K-Bear Ruiz doesn't try a delayed steal and gets gunned down to end the inning by Adley Rutschman. Also, a career high tying 8 earned runs for Zach Eflin. Oof. And what's frustrating is just how quickly it slipped away from him because, like yesterday, the offense finally got it together, or at least put up a little bit of a fight in the second half of the game. But you've already shortened the game and put the offense so back on its heels that you dig a hole, you bury yourself, and you can't get out of it. It's unfortunate how this theme has come back around. For the last couple of weeks, it had been the offense scuffling and not hitting well with runners in scoring position and even losing a bit of its power surge. And now, when you see the offense show up in the later frames, the pitching will set it back again. Good positive note, maybe to end this first block on, is a nice sliding defensive play from Jackson Holliday. We had mentioned yesterday that the defense looked out of sorts in the first couple of innings, bad routes to balls, overthrowing people, and we saw a little bit of a silly goose play today. Heston Kjerstad uh, didn't take the right path to cut off a single from Jose Tena, turned it into a double. He would later score in the fourth inning on a sacrifice fly by James Wood. That's just growing pains from Kjerstad as he's still very young and getting experience out there and right. He'll get some more playing time as well, which we'll talk about in the second block. But in the top of the sixth, after Eflin had been lifted for Keegan Aiken after 5 1/3, Holliday made a nice sliding play at second base to rob Dylan Cruz of a hit, made it a 4-3 ground out. And we have seen very good middle infield skills from Jackson Holliday. So he is surging at the right time on defense and on offense. We're going to touch a little bit on his performance after the break. We're also going to talk about the offensive performance as a whole and some roster moves involving Kyle Gibson, Tyler O'Neill, and the major league debut of one right-hander, Cade Stroud. And that's all coming up after the break. I want to thank you so much for watching here live on YouTube, the Locked On Orioles postcast, watching and listening on the replay as well as we talk about a 10-4 loss at the hands of the Washington Nationals. About that time, ain't it? If you're looking for a snack that's delicious and nutritious, boy, I need these before I get on air. The reason my voice has such dulcet tones, the way I'm able to be composed, is wonderful pistachios. One of the highest protein nuts, each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller for longer. And these are so easy to grab on the go. You've probably seen them at the gas station, at the Walmart, at wherever you shop. And yeah, all the errands in between meetings, they're so convenient, very delicious, very nutritious. I challenge you, get snackin, get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. That's wonderfulpistachios.com. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. NBA playoffs going on right now. The Thunder and the Nuggets. Game 7. Nothing like it. And there's going to be plenty of highlights to go around. Personally, I've got my money on Thunder's Pacers in the final. Maybe not the best for TV ratings, but it's going to be great for FanDuel. They make it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. Player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. It would be insane to combine some live prop bets mid-game. Plus, the biggest thing here is that if you're new to FanDuel, it's a great time to get in on the action. If you're new, you head to FanDuel.com, you sign up, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get 200 freebies, $200 in bonus bets for just making that first right pick. So make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I want to thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Orioles postcast here. 10-4 the final as the O's fall to the Washington Nationals. Jackson Holliday gets better every day. He has now gone 4 consecutive games at the plate without a strikeout. The first time he's done it in his short major league career. Middle infielder, number 1 overall pick in 2022, also has back-to-back games with a home run. Now, we saw that last year in a great series against Toronto. But the way he did it today, Jackson takes a slider opposite field from right-hander Brad Lord. A solo shot cut the deficit to 8-4. Unfortunately, as part of a 3-homer day for this offense, it's a little too late. O's fans may have a hard time celebrating these wins later in the game. And by wins, I mean individual plate appearances, when they're already so far behind that it doesn't move the needle a whole lot. If you're at Camden Yards, of course, you're on your feet and you're clapping. But I watched these last few innings and it just felt like that Chris Paul drains a huge 3 to cut the lead to 42. You know that meme from the NBA playoffs a couple years back? It's kind of what it's like. And when you're down 8-0 in a game, bottom 5, Cedric Mullins, who's desperately needed to consistently find his stroke again, recognize pitches, and get out of a hole, he turns on a high fastball off of Mike Soroka and hits it 390 feet. 8-1 ball game. Mullins still leading the team with 9 taters mashed and 26 RBIs. Manager Tony Mansolino said before the game that there needs to be a sense of urgency on this team. And probably the best way to get this back on track urgently is the pitch recognition game. More on that in a second. We saw another home run as well from Gunnar Henderson after striking out 9 times in this series, which is a high for him in any individual series. Got a first pitch hanging breaking ball over the right field fence, made it 8-2. And per Masson, as Ben McDonald said on the broadcast, the fastest Oriole to score 250 runs in his career, 381 games for the young Oriole shortstop. And the Iron Man, Cal Ripken, did it in 393. Obviously, there's talent abound, and those first 2 seasons that Gunnar was part of those playoff teams in Baltimore, they had ways to manufacture runs. We saw Rhino Hearn double in the same inning, and Cedric Mullins doubling off the right field wall to bring him in. Made it an 8-3 ball game. But I took the liberty of writing down a few instances, particularly early in this game, where that sense of urgency, or that what appears to be the Orioles not adjusting in at-bat, really came to the forefront. And we've talked about this. We've almost kind of hackneyed it to death. This is kind of beating a dead horse here. But they're not adjusting. There's not a preparedness at the plate. And it's almost as if they're sitting on a particular pitch and not making any, not having any leeway if they are to see something different. It's almost like they're dead set on one particular pitch out of the opponent's arsenal. Connor mentioned this on the show yesterday, and he's dead right. Is the Cedric Mullins at bat in the 9th inning Friday, taking 2 fastballs down the middle and one resulting in a strike him out, throw him out. It leads you to believe that there's just something not mechanically going right. I feel for fellow St. Louis native Cody Ashe here, and the way that this team is set up, but the hitting approach has left a lot to be desired. And part of it could have been Mike Soroka early on, flashing some breaking stuff. We saw Heston Kjerstad go down looking at a curve from Soroka. The batter before, Ryan Mountcastle, looking at a 4-seam fastball down the heart of the plate. Bottom 3, Gunnar Henderson striking out on a check swing, which he was upset about and infuriated about. We've talked about check swings at length on this show. It was a slurve at the shoelaces. Ball didn't start out a strike and sure didn't end a strike. And if you're fooled in the first place and your wrists are breaking towards the ball, can that be interpreted as a legitimate attempt to strike the ball, as is the very ambiguous definition of a swing in Major League Baseball? Absolutely. So you earned that. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And Orioles fans certainly don't agree with it. But if you're that fooled, I mean, any of us who have played the game know that you can get called for that much of an infraction if you're breaking towards the plate. It does not have to be halfway around the plate or cross at all. Ryan O'Hearn, bottom 4, fooled by a backdoor breaking ball. Bottom 6, Adley Rutschman, fooled by a changeup that starts a strike and ends a strike on the outer part of the plate. That was a strikeout for him. Bottom 6, Heston Kjerstad, after fouling off a fastball down the middle, takes the exact same pitch near the heart of the plate versus right-hander Brad Lord. And another check swing call, this time probably more egregious. Adley Rutschman fooled by a slider in the dirt from lefty Andrew Chafin. Check swing, call to swing. He's in disbelief over the call. Gunnar had been heated on the previous at-bat by another call. He walked and went down to first. And you could see visibly the frustration on the broadcast of the team that, again, has not seen hardly any breaks go its way and called on 2 questionable check swing calls. And to that I say, you're angry? Good. Best possible scenario 2 games after your manager is fired. This team better play angry. It better be livid. Like, it better be hot under the collar for an extended period of time. That's the only way anyone's going to move the needle and make any changes inside the clubhouse, in its preparation, in its approach to do anything with this season. You're 15 games under 500. You don't have anything to lose. On an individual level, absolutely. Some players do. Guys in their contract years, Cedric Mullins, Ryan O'Hearn. These guys are playing for not only a payday, but their reputation, their legacy, their careers. And you could say that for the other 25 guys. The whole roster. Even Kate Stroud. I say play angry. And these comments may be unnerving and unsettling, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Let's talk about roster moves. Right-hander Kyle Gibson had the reunion that fans were screaming about. Partying in the streets, Mike Elias crowned as a hero. And it fell short of expectations. Just a little bit. I kid, of course. Gibby was brought back for 4 starts, and it pains me to say this about a fellow University of Missouri alum. He is banished to the shadow realm temporarily. Gibby is 0-3 with a 16.78 ERA. There were comments yesterday on the stream. Yes, in 1678, the first American fire station was established in Boston, Massachusetts. Gibby in those 4 starts, 12 1/3, 29 hits, 23 earned runs, and 7 homers. That is a whip bordering on 3. This signing was doomed to fail by general manager Mike Elias. Gibson, on record, had contemplated retirement. Nothing was right about his arsenal when he came up to the bigs. The command was wildly off, was a late March signing. Elias threw money at him. He would be foolish to say no. As we have mentioned on this podcast before, when you have 1 foot in retirement, you have both feet in retirement. There was no logical way you would have been able to ramp up a bottom of the rotation starter in Kyle Gibson in time to make a difference on this team. Especially someone who's had a routine his entire big league career, a former first rounder out of Mizzou, former Minnesota Twin, former All-Star. Now, Kyle Gibson a couple of years ago was a great influence on this club. And again, I mean, even last year, effective as a 5 in St. Louis. There was never a solid chance he was going to return to form on such a short runway. And all this talk we've heard of he's a leader, he's a great clubhouse guy, he's going to show everyone the way. You can't do that when you yourself do not have the example laid out in front of these young arms. So all this talk that had been going on about how this signing would have changed things and how he would have been an answer short term to help this team tread water is just kind of a crock. He may resurface in AAA. He may clear waivers after being DFA'd. There's going to be a reckoning here. He's going to have to figure out, is it worth it? Or is this how you go? Not with a bang, but with a whimper. And in his stead, the Orioles recall right-hander Cade Stroud, 27-year-old who was fortunate to make his MLB debut today, the fourth young bird this season to make his debut. Cade had a pretty good strikeout rate at AAA Norfolk, 31% K rate. And the ERA, a little bit ballooned, 7.47 in 15 2/3 innings down in the International League. Drafted out of West Virginia in the 12th round in 2019. And the stuff early on looked pretty good. Flashed a hard, tight cutter with late break. Got Dylan Cruz to fly out to right field on a curveball. And then CJ Abrams, who again had a great day for the Nationals. In fact, a 3-for-5 day with 3 runs scored and 2 RBIs. Just a really well-placed double. Attempted sliding grab by Cedric Mullins didn't work out. James Wood has a well-fought at-bat, singles up the middle, Abrams scores, and then Stroud kind of pours salt in his own wound, tries to make a quick pickoff move on Wood. Probably a case of the yips in his major league debut. Ryan O'Hearn is not even on the bag. He's playing behind James Wood. And under previous incarnations of the rule book, that probably could have, actually, no. I was going to say it could have been a balk, but there would have needed to be a runner ahead of Wood, in which there wasn't. But Stroud airmails it, his first major league error after his first major league earned run, and then gets Nathaniel Lowe to fly out to Laureano in left field and strikes out Keber Ruiz. Curveball and a foul tip for Cade Stroud's first major league strikeout. Randall Cade Stroud, 27 years old. One more roster move to get through, and that is outfielder Tyler O'Neill, who has not lived up to his contract so far this year. Hard to blame him. He's been hurt pretty much the whole time. And he's back on the 10-day injured list with a left shoulder impingement. His former St. Louis Cardinal teammate Dylan Carlson is recalled and will try to fill in that highly coveted fifth outfielder role. Carlson is 0 for 15 in his first at-bats as an O, and that needs to turn around post-haste. It has been rough goings for Dylan Carlson ever since he was a big reach, kind of a diamond in the rough drafting by the Cardinals back in the day. Started out in the infield and then moved out to the outfield, and initially showed some 5-tool inclinations, 5-tool potential, and it has since fizzled out in quite the worst way. We'll talk about him another day. I don't got time for that. Tomorrow, we carry on as part of a 16-game stretch for these Baltimore Orioles. They are at Milwaukee. 7:40 first pitch on MASN right-hander Dean Kramer taking the bump against right-hander Quinn Priester. The Brewers have played below expectations this year. They are 4th place in the NL Central, about 6 games out of first. And as of going live, they're 4 games under 500. But they may be on the precipice of snapping Minnesota's 13-game win streak. So that's kind of cool to have under your belt. The Orioles are shorthanded in the rotation after letting Gibson go. And they need a starter for Tuesday. Right-hander Tomoyuki Sagano has been bumped to Wednesday, and there are whispers, per MASN and per some of the media in the region, that Chase McDermott will get another spot start in an attempt to prove himself, this time on the road in Milwaukee. Also whispers that Charlie Morton may find his way back into the rotation after having by far his best outing of the year yesterday in mop-up duty for Kyle Gibson. 4 1/3 for Morton yesterday, and just 1 earned run. I'll close by saying this as we continue this Locked On Orioles postcast. I'm going through the comments right now. I see a lot of not despair, but just frustration, anger, denial, acceptance. Today would have been Hall of Famer Brooks Robinson's 88th. And it would have been special to have gotten a win for him. I often love listening to Jim Palmer on the broadcast. And in fact, he is a great Twitter follow because he is a living reminder of how great this franchise can be and what loyalty to the Baltimore Orioles can mean. Palmer has poured 60 years of his life into this organization. In the last couple years, there have been winks and nods and poetic rhetoric around the potential of this team, the talent it has, and the building of momentum towards getting this team to the promised land again. And of course, after getting swept on your own homestand and riding another losing streak, this season continues to fall further and further out of reach. But I would challenge you not to let the light fade away. These next 4.5 months could be ugly. And you're seeing a team that isn't prepared and doesn't have composure, frankly, that buries itself, 2 innings into the game. And pulling yourself out of that hole is way easier said than done. Way easier said than done in any sport. Coaching changes and managerial changes often have a more effective uh, ripple effect in sports like basketball and hockey. We saw it a couple of times this year. I mean, even the Denver Nuggets letting go of their coach right before the postseason and playing in a game 7 today. Baseball, it's much harder to see that effect when you are playing every day and you have a much larger sample of games. As Connor had hinted on the episode yesterday, before it gets better, it could get worse. And in terms of what direction this team goes, from owner David Rubenstein down to Mike Elias and the front office, what moves they make with their executive personnel, to what happens to the product on the field, this is a time of uncertainty. But don't let the light fade away, if you can still see it. Thank you once again for tuning in here on the Locked On Orioles podcast. This has been the Postcast. My name is Luke Slabaugh, with you immediately after every Baltimore Orioles game this year. Thanks so much for listening and watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Happy Sunday. Stay safe.